I'm thrilled to be the next baseball coach here at Notre Dame. I don't know of a university that does it better in terms of combining athletics and academics at such a high level. And I can't wait to get started. I had an opportunity on a conference call to talk to a lot of the players, and I just, like I said, I'm really looking forward to getting started here. I think that this is a place that, arguably Notre Dame is the biggest brand name in college athletics and one of the best academic institutions in the country. And I feel that that model is one that can help us get back to Notre Dame, back to Omaha. I don't think it's, as some would think, that the academic requirements are something that prevents us from having success at the very highest level. In fact, I think it's something that attracts kids and that will help us get back to that level.
What is the key to being a good communicator with your players?
I guess you have to have the gift of gab, maybe. I think number one, you have to be truthful with them so that you have so that you build up a certain amount of credibility with them. That I try to present to my players their strengths, their weaknesses, what I feel they have to improve on, what they do well, et cetera, and I try to tell them as truthfully as I can. Be that truth that they might not want to hear, you communicate that as much as the truth that they might want to hear. And I think that if you can do that and you can treat them in a first-class way, that way, and still challenge them on a daily basis to be the best that they can be, well then I think that
Sean Steyer's College Baseball 360. I'm wondering, first of all, which is the more pressure-packed situation, going through the job interview process or going up against guys like Mike Fox and Mike Martin?
Well, I guess that's a little bit more familiar territory, I guess, in terms of just being out on the field and competing against another team. And I don't think that I ever looked at it as I was competing against Mike Martin, because if I had really started to think about that with his like 17 million wins, that would have been really that would have been a pretty daunting thing, The job interview here was great. All of the people here were really easy to talk to. As a matter of fact, I think, Josh, there wasn't a single time slot that I actually stayed within, so that was pretty good. The background check thing has been challenging a little bit, but I understand the reasoning behind that. So I guess probably the interview process was a little more challenging than the other piece.
You're pretty much a lifelong Northeast New England guy. Was it tough for you to make the decision to kind of leave your comfort zone, I guess, so to speak?
No, not really. I mean, I love BC. I love, my family is there in Massachusetts. The large part of my family is there in Massachusetts. But I think both from a professional standpoint and a personal standpoint, I just felt like this was just a tremendous fit. Had I been able to draw it up on a piece of paper better, it would have been, I couldn't have done it. Outside of maybe a slight climate change of South Bend, but that one's not going to happen. So outside of that, I think it's great. I mean, it's an opportunity for a young family to grow up on a college campus, and a college campus with the prestige of Notre Dame, to come to a place from a baseball standpoint where we have the resources in order to be able to go and try to win championships and compete for that year in and year out. So I don't know. I think this is like once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and it didn't take long for us to figure out that this is what we wanted to do.
You talked a little about, I guess, bunting. Maybe it's not the sexiest thing. You had a guy lead the nation this year. But when you look at college baseball specifically, there is a pretty direct correlation between teams who do and teams who don't, when you look at teams that were in Omaha even this year. Do you have a specific philosophy that goes along with that?
Well, I mean, the philosophy basically is to just really get back to just putting as many runners in scoring position as you can, and then you need a hit, and you don't need a ball to get to be a home run in order to score runs. I also think with sort of supposedly a return to the original bat standards and taking the composites out, and with the new 2011 bat legislation that's out there, I think there's going to be more of a premium on that type of baseball. And if you look at the teams that have been successful recently, a lot of teams sort of subscribe to that as you think about. I mean, I think we were up there with who? With Texas in terms of most sacrifice bunts in a year. Fullerton and Irvine, and there's a lot of places that have, and even as good as those Omaha teams that Carolina had was, Coach Fox played a lot of that sort of style, and slash and hit and run and bunting and doing different things. So I do think that it's a good model, and I think one of the things for us is it gives us an identity, and I think the other part of it is that it allows players to play within themselves. And this is a game that you have to play relaxed and within yourself. As soon as you try to come outside of who you are and ask a kid who's a gap power type of guy with a runner on first, hey, we need to leave the yard in order to score a run here, I think they're playing outside of themselves, and I think that goes back to you're putting kids in a situation where they're not optimized for success.
And then the last thing, you touched on this a little bit too, but this is a pretty important recruiting month. What is, beyond just the staff, what is the first priority you have along those lines?
Is to start banging the phones and trying to get out there and see as many kids as we possibly can. Obviously, I was pretty hands-on in our recruiting process in terms of being out there evaluating kids and everything else, so it's not like I'm evaluating a completely different kid in terms of their profile academically and from a baseball standpoint and everything else. So we've got a pretty decent list of names that I'll start officially phone calling as soon as Jill and whoever else around here tells me that I can start doing that.